Picture this. You're standing at the edge of your life, not in defeat, not in despair, but in potential. In your hands lies a blueprint, not just any plan. This is the master key to your future. A future filled not with luck or chance, but with impact, prosperity, and purpose. And it all starts with one truth. Your destiny is entirely up to you. There's a story most never hear. It's not about lottery winners or child prodigies. It's about everyday individuals, people just like you, who one day decided to rise. People like Sarah Blakely, who turned rejection into a billion-dollar brand, or Chris Gardner, who went from homeless to a household name, not because the stars aligned for them, but because they aligned themselves with a mission bigger than fear. They weren't waiting for motivation. They weren't chasing miracles. They were busy planting seeds, thoughts, habits, decisions, every single day. Here's the shift most people never make, realizing that average is optional. But before we get too far, let's rewind, because the journey to greatness doesn't begin on a stage or at a finish line. It begins in silence, in that private moment where you say, I want more, and I'm willing to grow into the person who makes it real. Not someday, now. But let's get real. This isn't about hype. This is about power, your power, to reshape your life one thought at a time. And it starts with the most underrated truth of all. Your mindset isn't fixed. It's a tool that can build empires or destroy them. Let me ask you something. What do you feed your mind? Every idea you entertain, every belief you nurture, becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. If you constantly repeat, I'm not ready, I'm not enough, it's too hard, then you're paving the road to regret with your own hands. But what if you flipped the script? What if instead of, can I do this, you asked, what would it take? That question changes everything. It invites action. It opens doors. It activates the part of you that's built for challenge, built for growth, built to lead. This isn't about pretending setbacks don't exist. It's about deciding they won't define you. There's a difference between reacting to life and creating it. People stuck in neutral wait for life to feel right. But creators, they move anyway. They plant courage where fear used to live. They show up before confidence arrives. They do the hard things, not because they feel ready, but because they've decided to become ready through action. Think of it like this. Your thoughts are seeds, and your mind, it's the most fertile ground on earth. If you plant doubt and fear, don't be surprised when weeds of hesitation take over. But if you plant grit, clarity, and courage, you'll grow forests of opportunity, strength, and fulfillment. Forests that you cultivated. Now imagine this. Every single day is a chance to either reinforce who you were or redesign who you're becoming. And if that sounds overwhelming, here's the beautiful truth. Big change never starts big. It starts with the decision to shift, to choose the empowering thought instead of the defeating one, to take the first step when the entire staircase is still hidden, to act even when no one's watching, especially then, because the world doesn't reward intentions. It rewards execution. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to move. Let go of the illusion that you need permission. You don't. You're not waiting for a sign. You are the sign. So here's what I want you to remember. You don't rise to your dreams. You fall to your standards. If you want a better life, you must upgrade your identity. And that starts by mastering your mental environment, your inner world, because that's where the outer transformation begins. Your greatest weapon is already within you. It's not luck. It's not timing. It's not even talent. It's your capacity to think differently, to reframe setbacks, to outlast the noise, to hold the vision of who you want to become and act like it's already real, because it is. Let's break the rules for a moment. Forget realistic. Forget manageable. Forget safe. Those words were built for comfort zones. not transformation. You weren't made to play small. If your vision doesn't make your hands tremble and your heart beat faster, then it's not big enough. The extraordinary don't aim for convenience. They aim for expansion. They don't ask, what's possible for someone like me? They ask, what would it take to redefine what's possible at all? Big goals shift your identity. They demand that you evolve, stretch, and become the version of yourself capable of living that dream. Ask yourself, what goal have you buried because it felt too massive, too impossible, too risky? That's the one. That's the direction. But dreaming isn't enough. Dreams are only powerful when they're backed by daily movement. And this is where most people crash. They set the goal. They get the rush. They write it down. And then they wait. Waiting for the right mood, the right month, the right motivation. But let me tell you this. Motivation is unreliable. It flares up like a match and disappears just as fast. You know what doesn't vanish? Discipline, structure, systems, commitments, the habits you keep when no one's watching and no one's clapping. Here's the secret weapon of the most successful. They don't leave progress to chance. They don't need to feel inspired every morning. They've engineered their day to succeed. They've taken the big mountain, that enormous, terrifying goal, and broken it into tiny, daily wins. It's not sexy. It's not dramatic. But it works. Because when you focus on the next brick, instead of the whole building, you keep moving. Let's break this down. You want to build wealth. Don't obsess over 7 figures. Ask, what's one income-producing action I can take today? You want to write a book? Don't stare at a blank page, wondering about the ending. Write 1 paragraph, 1 page. Do it again tomorrow. You want to reinvent your life? Don't panic about how far you have to go. Just set the alarm. Get up when it rings. Make your bed. Move your body. Protect your energy. These are the daily micro-movements that shift your identity. And identity is what sustains momentum when the excitement wears off. Because it will wear off. That's not a warning. That's a promise. But that's also your opportunity. Because the day your enthusiasm dips is the day your character is revealed. So, when that day comes, and it will, don't ask how you feel. Ask what you committed to. You don't need more motivation. You need more clarity. You need standards that don't negotiate. Let's go even deeper. The reason most people quit isn't because the goal is too big. It's because the pressure feels unbearable. But pressure is a privilege. It means you're stretching beyond who you were yesterday. It means you're evolving. And evolution? It's not meant to feel easy. The goal is supposed to scare you. Because fear isn't your enemy. Fear is feedback. It's a signal that you've stepped into a place where your old self can't survive, and your next self is waiting to be born. And what about failure? Good. Bring it. Failure is the tuition you pay for mastery. There is no success without it. Every breakthrough you crave is on the other side of missteps, messy efforts, and lessons learned the hard way. Think about Howard Schultz, rejected over 200 times before Starbucks found backing. Or Oprah Winfrey, told she was unfit for TV. Their greatness wasn't defined by avoidance of failure. It was defined by how many times they stood back up. Because real success isn't about perfection. It's about resilience. So here's your challenge. Think of a goal so big it feels slightly unreasonable. A goal so bold it makes your palms sweat. Then break it down. Reverse engineer it into weekly targets, daily habits, non-negotiable actions, and then start today. Not when you feel ready, not when the timing is perfect, but now, because the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is the action you're avoiding. And once you take that first step, the next one gets easier, then the next. And before you know it, momentum becomes your new oxygen. Let's talk about what separates the dreamers from the doers. It's not talent. It's not intelligence. It's not even passion. It's discipline. Raw, unapologetic, unwavering discipline. The kind that doesn't flinch at early mornings, that doesn't back down on hard days, that doesn't wait for ideal circumstances. It shows up. It delivers. It builds when no one's clapping. And here's the wild truth. Most people already know what they need to do. They've watched the tutorials, read the books, written the goals. But knowledge without action, that's just potential wasting away. The reason isn't lack of information. It's a lack of self-leadership. You can have every advantage in the world, money, access, brilliance. But if you can't control your impulses, if your habits run your day, if you let "I don't feel like it" make decisions for you, you're handing your life over to emotions that change by the hour. Discipline is the bridge between where you are now and everything you say you want. Because let's be honest, you won't feel like showing up every day. You won't feel like staying focused while others take shortcuts. You won't feel like making the call, pushing through, waking up early, staying late. But discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline shows up anyway. It's not sexy. It's not dramatic. It's not viral. But it works. And in a world obsessed with shortcuts and shiny objects, consistency is your ultimate competitive edge. Let's break this down. When Serena Williams trains in the off-season, when Elon Musk engineers late into the night, when artists like Ed Sheeran practice until their fingers bleed, they aren't doing it because they're motivated. They're disciplined. They've made a decision that success is not an option. It's a standard. And you can too. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be relentless. But here's where people fall off. They think discipline means radical overnight changes. It doesn't. Discipline begins with the small stuff. Waking up when you said you would. Finishing what you started. Keeping promises to yourself, even when no one will notice. Those tiny acts, they build trust, not with others, but with yourself. And once you trust yourself, your confidence becomes bulletproof, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Now, let's be real. There will be days where resistance wins, days where doubt creeps in, days where progress feels invisible. That's normal. But the people who break through, they've eliminated the option to quit. They've removed negotiation from the equation. There's no maybe, no later, no if I feel like it. It's done, no matter what. And if you want to reach that level, you have to change the conversation in your head. Instead of asking, "Do I really have to?" start saying, "This is who I am now." Because the most powerful transformation you can make is internal. From trying to becoming. From "I hope I can" to "I will, because I said so." But here's the kicker. Your environment matters. If you're surrounded by distractions, shortcuts, and people who enable excuses, your willpower doesn't stand a chance. Discipline thrives in alignment. Set your world up to support your goals. Clean your space. Turn off what's draining you. Build routines that move the needle. Say no more often. Protect your peace like your life depends on it, because, in a way, it does. You're not weak. You're untrained. And that's fixable, because discipline is a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it becomes. Eventually, it becomes who you are. You're not forcing yourself anymore. You're just living at a higher standard. You don't hope to succeed. You expect to, because you've done the work repeatedly when it counted. So the next time your mind whispers, "Let's skip today," answer back, "No." We show up, because success doesn't belong to the most gifted. It belongs to the most consistent. And the question isn't, "Can you do it?" It's, "Will you keep doing it when no one's watching?" That's where champions are made. Let's get one thing straight. You don't rise in isolation. You rise in alignment. No matter how driven, disciplined, or dedicated you are, if you're constantly surrounded by low energy, small thinking, and complacency, it will rub off on you. You are not immune to your environment. You are shaped by it. The people you engage with the most are shaping your thoughts, your beliefs, your standards. Silently, subtly, but powerfully, So ask yourself this: are the people around you expanding your vision or shrinking it? Are they challenging you to level up or giving you permission to coast? Because here's the truth: you become what you're exposed to. Stay too long in circles that normalize mediocrity, and your ambition starts to feel like a burden instead of a gift. You begin to second-guess your goals, tone down your energy, and question if wanting more makes you too much. It doesn't. You're just in the wrong room. Now think about this. Every great leap in history, from revolutions to innovations, didn't happen in isolation. It happened in ecosystems. It happened in cultures where hunger, ambition, and excellence were normal. Want to evolve faster? Change your proximity. Get around people who intimidate you, not because they belittle you, but because their standard of living forces you to upgrade yours. Get around people who don't gossip, don't complain, don't settle, but build, create, learn, and lead. This is why high performers seek out mentorship, not for shortcuts, but for standards. They want to be held to a level that makes excuses impossible and effort non-negotiable. And if you can't access a mentor yet, books are mentors, podcasts are mentors, environments are mentors. Curate your input like your future depends on it, because it does. If you're the most focused person in your circle, it's time to find a new circle. You need to be around people whose discipline makes yours sharper, whose wins inspire action, not envy, whose feedback is honest, not coddling. Because here's what happens when you're surrounded by driven people. You start to think bigger, because their vision expands your perspective. You start to act braver, because their courage becomes contagious. You start to expect more from yourself, because their presence demands it. This isn't about being better than anyone. It's about being better for yourself. And here's the wild part. Energy is real. Spend 5 minutes with someone deeply committed to their goals, and watch how your posture shifts, your focus sharpens, your excuses fade. Spend 5 minutes with someone who plays victim, and feel your ambition drain before you even realize it. So what's the move? Audit your circle, not from judgment, from intention. Look around and ask, do these people energize me or deplete me? Do they reflect who I am or who I'm trying to become? Are they pushing themselves, and are they pushing me? Because the people you surround yourself with are either scaffolding that lifts you or anchors that hold you down, and you owe it to your future to choose wisely. Now here's the empowering part. You don't have to cut people off. You just have to redirect your attention. Spend more time where excellence lives, where greatness is normalized, where effort is praised more than results, because that's where mastery is born. And when you step into those spaces, be humble, be hungry, and be ready to grow. Because in rooms where everyone's striving, your excuses will feel heavy. Your potential will feel possible. And your standards, they'll finally match your ambition. Let's strip it all back. All the strategies, all the mindset shifts, all the planning. None of it matters if you don't take action. Not someday. Not after more research. Not when you feel more confident. Now. Because here's what no one wants to admit. Most people aren't failing from lack of talent. They're failing from hesitation. They're overthinking, overplanning, waiting for some magical moment of certainty that will never come. The winners, they move. Fast. Imperfectly. Relentlessly. They know that motion beats meditation. That starting ugly is better than waiting for perfect. That bold action creates the kind of momentum no spreadsheet ever will. Think about this. How many brilliant ideas died in notebooks? How many businesses never launched because the timing wasn't right? How many lives never changed because fear made the final decision? Fear is loud, but it's also predictable. It shows up right before the breakthrough, right before the leap, right when you're closest to doing something real. That's not a sign to stop. That's the moment to accelerate. Because the only thing worse than failing is wondering what could have happened if you'd just gone for it. So take the leap. Send the pitch. Start the channel. Build the offer. Make the call. Write the first line. Launch the messy version. Show up with the nerves and do it anyway. Let the world catch up to your decision to grow. And if you fall, good. You fall forward. You learn fast. You get up with data, not just bruises. Because failure isn't the enemy. Inaction is. The world doesn't belong to the perfect. It belongs to the brave. Those willing to do before they're ready. To act before they're certain. Success isn't a light switch. It's a dimmer. You turn it up with every rep, every risk, every decision that says, I'm in. Confidence doesn't come from thinking. It comes from stacking wins, building evidence, proving to yourself that you can trust your follow-through. And that starts with one step, not a plan, a step. No more one day. No more when I'm ready. Take that first swing, even if your hands shake. Because the irony is, the more action you take, the more clarity you get. You don't wait for the path. You create it by walking. And the most powerful force in this world, a human being who's in motion, who's chosen courage over comfort, who's said, let's go, and never looked back. So if you've been waiting, this is it. Your permission slip, your green light, your call to action. The gap between dreaming and living is movement, and the bridge between average and extraordinary is doing. So stop doubting. Stop delaying. Take the shot. So here we are. You've heard the mindset. You've felt the shift. You've envisioned the action. But there's one last truth you need to know. One most never realize. You are not just the result of your life. You are the author of it. Every choice you make, no matter how small, is a brushstroke on the canvas of your future. Not fate, not luck. You. That means you don't need to wait for permission. You don't need anyone to crown you ready. You don't need the world to agree with your vision. All you need is one decision, that you will no longer live on default. Because here's the difference between the average and the unstoppable. The average reacts to life. The unstoppable creates it. You can choose to coast, to let your circumstances dictate your pace, your standards, your joy. Or you can take the wheel and decide that from this moment on, you drive. Your past doesn't define you. Your mistakes don't disqualify you. Your struggles don't mean you're broken. They mean you've been forged. And the fire you've walked through, that's your fuel. Every obstacle was preparation. Every failure was refinement. You didn't come this far to hesitate. You came to take ownership. And that's the power no one can take from you. The power to rise, to rebuild, to redesign what your life looks like starting today. Not with giant leaps, but with simple, intentional acts repeated with conviction. Wake up with purpose. Speak with clarity. Move with intent. Build with belief. And above all, trust that if you stay committed, if you stay in the game when it's hard, if you keep stacking days like bricks, it will pay off. The world needs your greatness. Not when it's polished. Not when it's perfect. But now, raw, real, and ready to grow. You've already got everything you need. Not because you know it all, but because you're willing to learn, to fall, to rise again. So here's the final question, the one that decides everything. Will you be the result of your story or the cause of it? The life you want isn't built in theory. It's built in action. And your story, it starts with what you do next. Go build it. Not for applause, not for validation, but because deep down, you know you were made for more. And today, you choose to become it.